We've officially been in France for 6 months, and we have some unpopular opinions to share. We also have advice and regular update stuff to share as well. Hey, I'm Lauren.
I'm Scott.
And we moved to France 6 months ago, so here's our little update. Taking it off with a recap of some of the things that have happened in the last 6 months. It's really hard to keep up with everything that has happened in the last 6 months, but we'll give a little overview. We've already filled you in on some of the things in our other videos. But starting off, Scott has been doing a lot of events and a lot of social activities. So I'm going to let him talk all about that.
So as Lauren said, I've been hosting roughly an event per month, and the events that I host are a continuation of what I was doing in the United States, which is called the Adult Art Club. And essentially these are a group of meetings where people can come, collaborate, be creative, and also socialize with one another so that they can learn a little bit about each other and potentially make friends from it. In addition to hosting my own events, I've also been attending a lot of events just to see how things are run here in Nice, because obviously having my own events in America is different than having events here in Nice. And I wanted to make sure that what I was bringing to the table was something new, something that would be accepted, and also network so that I could get people from those events to come to my events.
As the more introverted of the two of us, I have been going to some events, maybe not as many as Scott. I'm like a one major event per week person, but one thing that I've been focusing on the last 6 months, specifically the last couple months, is getting to know people on a deeper level and creating friendship. There are a lot of interesting people here in Nice. There are people who are French from Nice. There are people who are French who are not from Nice. And then there are people like us who are from other countries. And just sharing cultures and getting to know them has been really fulfilling and exciting for me. So working on investing in those interpersonal relationships has been something that I've been doing over the past 6 months. And I feel really good about the connections that I've made.
In addition to a lot of the groups that Lauren's been talking about, there's also been a fair amount of other small business owners, which has been useful here in knowing how that they run their business and comparing that to how we can do things here as well. It's just been another added layer that has been nice in terms of acclimating to the culture.
One thing I have noticed is that people are very surprised at how quickly we've been able to establish events in Scott's case and just relationships when we see people, oh, hey, we know you from here, we know you from there. I don't think that that is as common for a lot of people who come here as immigrants, expats, whatever you want to call it, visitors. I don't think it's as common for them to make as many connections as quickly as we have. So that's been fun explaining, oh yeah, we know them from XYZ group, or oh, you were involved in that thing? Yeah, that's my husband's job. So I think it's been surprising but fun to tell people about that. Social connections have been pretty excellent, I would say, over the past 6 months.
And of course, you can't talk about France without talking about bureaucracy. So there has been a fair amount of bureaucracy that we've made headway on since our last check-in, including getting our insurance from l'assurance maladie. However, we are still in the process of doing that. There was a fair amount of miscommunication with document uploading, which you would think that uploading it onto the computer would allow you to streamline the process. But due to the internal issues that they may have, I personally had an issue with my passport being too dark, despite sending it both in color and in black and white at 300 resolution. I had to go in person at one point to get a copy made, and then when I got there, found out that I was missing another document, so I went to go get a copy made. I came back, all to find out the following week, I still had to send in another copy, even though an employee at the agency was the one who made the copy. So anyway, you're going to come across issues like that when you move probably anywhere in the world, but it's pretty common here in France, as we've been told by a variety of people.
Despite all of the scanning, printing, and sending in issues that Scott had with his passport, somehow he also scanned mine and it worked out. So yeah, I am actually well on my way to getting a carte vitale apparently, but it's still not here. Even though I do not have that, we have our original insurance that we bought to cover the year of being in France through the visa process, and I was able to go to a doctor and establish some care. The doctor is I don't know, 8 minutes away from our house. And I was able to go on a Sunday, and they apologized for it being very expensive because it was a Sunday and like a 24-hour last minute appointment. And it was €50. Was it €50?
I think it's €50.
Anyway, I know that that is expensive for people who live in France and are used to a standard level of payment. So yes, it's much more expensive. But as an American, I was like, please take my money. I'm glad you're here on a Sunday, and I'm glad I was able to go to the doctor. No big deal. So we are kind of getting into those systems as well, which is really nice and exciting, and hopefully it'll be faster once Scott's passport is accepted.
One of the reasons that we were able to get the appointment on such short notice is because France does have an app called Doctolib, which if you are in the United States and you're familiar with various medical apps, it's pretty similar to ZocDoc, where you can look for doctors in your area, see their availability, and then also make appointments through their portal. So that was very convenient for us to learn about, and also is going to be the way that we look for future doctors once we see things like a general practitioner or have other issues that may come up.
This video is not sponsored by ZocDoc or Doctolib.
I also made a little bit of progress on something that I mentioned in one of our previous videos recently, actually this week, with uploading documents for my driver's license exchange. Part of that is getting both your driver's license and your driving record translated by a certified translator. So prior to even uploading these documents, I still have some hoops to jump through before that all becomes finalized.
Shout out to the person who commented on that video that we posted before, talking about the driver's license and talking about the fact that it was going to be a process, because we knew that we had reciprocity from Pennsylvania, but we were not aware that it would be a heavier lift. So that person really inspired us to get started on this. Well, Scott, because I'm not bothering with mine, but thank you to that person who commented. You helped us out with that. Another thing that we've been working on over the past 6 months is language acquisition. And I feel like I have not made as much progress as I want to, but I also feel proud of the progress that I have made and how much I'm able to comprehend here. We recently went for our OFI appointments, which stands for French Office of Immigration. We went for our immigration appointments for our visas. At this appointment, they test your French level, they give you some basic health questionnaires and tests if you choose to do them. And then we get signed up for our civics classes, which is like going to be a whole other video series, I'm sure. If you test into an A2 level French, you get a certificate. And I have thoughts about this, but neither of us tested into an A2 level French at the appointment, but then we were given access to an app to get to an A2 level of French. And on that app, we both tested into you tested into a B1?
B1, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I tested into a B2. So I don't know.
We'll talk a lot more about our OFI experience, our initial visit in another video, and then subsequent videos when we have to go back for our civics classes. Personally, I have been taking French lessons, and I just recently bumped up from 1 class a week to 2, which may sound like a lot, but there's been people here that we have met that have actually been going the entire week, and they go for up to
like 5 hours a day, like almost a full day at work.
And, you know, with us being business owners and also still having everything else that we have to do here, unfortunately, we can't commit to that, but we have been trying to do as much as we can and still doing our other language learning apps in addition to the one that Lauren just talked about that we got at OFI.
Also bringing it back to some of those social connections, we have inherited a French person, just one so far. We have others in our network, but we've really inherited one. Yesterday, he brought us a bunch of French workbooks to work on our French, and he's going to help us with it. And also just having conversations with him speaking French, us learning the translations of basic things we're doing. That has been super helpful for comprehension. And I think both of us feel a lot more confident in our comprehension. Someone can speak to me in an official French office, and I can understand everything they are saying to me. I might not know how to grammatically say anything back to them, but I feel really confident in my ability to understand, even at full speed.
I would say that my personal level of language acquisition is similar to Lauren's in terms of the understanding, but I'm still not quite comfortable with speaking it. So I do need people to go a little bit slower, and when I'm repeating something back, it's usually not in the right syntax, which is better than nothing. And we have actually come across multiple people who say that they've had friends who have been here for years and have shown absolutely no interest in learning the language, and they manage to get by. We don't know how well they're integrating, but they manage to get by.
Lastly, and why we haven't been posting as many videos is because for the past month
A month straight, yeah.
straight, we have had people visiting us. We had my cousin and my aunt come to visit, and then we had a week in between, and then we had friends come to visit. So we have been hosting people. This room where we record videos has actually just been acting as a guest room. There's been a blow up mattress here. There's been suitcases everywhere. It's been pandemonium. I think that we knew that people would want to come visit us, but getting those first couple hosting things out of the way have been nice. We had a good time. We were able to visit different places and be tourists in our own area. We went to the Museum of Oceanography in Monaco, which was so fun, in my opinion. And we also did a weekend trip to Marseille recently, which was also very fun, very overstimulating for us because apparently we've adjusted to a sleepier town, which Nice is compared to Marseille. But lots of amazing art things going on. So many great small businesses in Marseille, like really doing it. The graphic design, I was having a fun time looking at all the graphics and the colors that they're using. So yeah, we've been able to do a lot of things with folks who've come to visit, but it has kept us from updating our YouTube channel as much as we would have liked to.
I would say one of the other nice things about having people visit is you kind of become a tour guide of your city. And although there's a lot of things that we recommended that we personally like to do, we also got a chance to do some of the things that we haven't done yet, such as what Lauren was saying with going to Marseille, also going to a couple of attractions, museums that we hadn't been to or maybe hadn't fully spent a lot of time at. So that was nice, although, yes, it was an extremely busy and action-packed month. Now, we're each going to share our unpopular opinion for our experience here in the last 6 months. And for this part, we actually haven't talked to each other about what our unpopular opinion is. So it's going to be a discovery for each of us.
I think that we need to keep in mind that there is a whole nuanced experience for each and every person, and I'm really excited to hear Scott's unpopular opinion.
So coming off of what Lauren was talking about, being here from another country and kind of getting used to the customs, the overall mentality of each country, and now having lived here for 6 months, my unpopular opinion is that actually French people, or I would just say people living in France, I won't necessarily say all French people because French people are not a monolith. I would say that they are a little bit more optimistic or realist than the United States.
That's a very unpopular opinion. I think that French people might argue with you in the comments about that.
What I mean by that is that I feel as if the people who are living here, and again, this is just my experience living here in Nice, are a little bit more realistic or a little bit more optimistic. And I guess the reason that I feel that way is because the interactions that we've had are a lot more honest. They're a little bit more to the point when it comes to having conversations and thinking through ideas and just general getting help from one another. I feel like sometimes, and this is not, again, all the case in the United States, but I feel like a lot of the times there's a level of competition. And I feel like here there's a little bit more of a collaboration mindset as opposed to I can do this thing and nobody else should be able to do it. It's, well, you do this thing and I do this thing, and how can we work together to make something potentially different or better for each of us?
My unpopular opinion is a little bit more about like the process of moving abroad and getting here, but I actually think it has not been as difficult as I anticipated, which I think is in line with what Scott is saying about the community that we've met here. But I don't want to give anyone false hope that moving abroad is going to be easy peasy lemon squeezy, but I don't think it has been as difficult as I thought it was going to be. Like the French bureaucracy, the navigating daily life. Maybe it's just us, or maybe it was because my expectation was it was going to be extremely difficult, which also blends into the fact that I'm not super homesick. I'm having a really good time. We're definitely still in the honeymoon phase. We can check back in. We will check back in. But I'm having a very good time on this adventure, and I don't feel particularly homesick, even navigating new systems that I don't really like. Mind you, Scott does a lot of it, but I still have to show up for appointments. I still have to do those interactions. And for some reason, it just hasn't been as difficult as I anticipated.
I would agree with what Lauren's saying. I think in regards to the bureaucracy specifically, although there is some times where it's a little bit confusing or potentially, again, you have to re-upload documents or resend things in. Generally speaking, if you ask for help from someone, if you send a ticket through whatever service that they're asking you, whatever avenue they're asking you to do it through, you're going to get somebody who is helpful, who is trying to point you in the right direction. And if you make a mistake, they will help correct that.
And to wrap up our 6-month update, I wanted to give a piece of advice to myself from 6 months ago, and Scott's going to give a piece of advice to himself from 6 months ago before we arrived here, or the week before we were going to get on a plane. And I think my piece of advice to myself would be to be proud of all the preparation and work that we did, because it really is going to pay off. I feel like we put in a lot of work when we were still in the United States. We put a lot of thought into this, even though it was a super condensed timeline. We devoured research. We were on forums. We were talking to people. We did consultations. We looked things up. We looked things up again. We weren't just relying on TikTok videos and chat GPT to get us here. We did real actual research, and it felt overwhelming. It felt like it wasn't enough, and it has proven to be enough since we have been here. I feel like there are so many nuggets and so many pieces that we did before we got here that have ended up making this transition a lot easier for us than it is for a lot of people who come with less preparation and less research and just try to wing it. What's your piece of advice to yourself from 6 months ago? I hope you have more than one.
So I do agree a lot with what Lauren was saying. I do think that we put in a fair amount of work in order to get here. We did as much diligent research, paperwork, reconnaissance, whatever you want to call it, prior to coming here. So much that, again, we were turned away, or some of our documents were turned away from when we had our visa appointment. But even with that, I would say that if there's even an inkling of you looking to move abroad, if you're thinking about it, even in the back of your head, maybe one day, start researching now so that when you get here, wherever that is for you, whether it's France, somewhere else, you'll have a little bit more of an understanding of how things work, and just do as much as you can prior to leaving so that you set yourself up for success. If I could give advice to myself 6 months ago, I would say not to get so caught up in all of the bureaucracy. I can't say that word for some reason. Not to get so caught up in the bureaucracy, because although that is important, and signing up for things and making sure that you are documented and making sure that you have everything in order is important, I would say that integrating into the culture and making more time for exploring and also doing what you want to do, self, is probably a little bit more important than spending as much time on some of the other stuff. With that being said, as we mentioned earlier, I would say that I have been doing a fair amount of that, especially the last 2 months. But again, going back 6 months, there are some weeks where I could definitely see myself maybe spending less time on some of the nitty-gritty details that aren't as important overall.
I think that's it for our 6-month update. I'm sure we have 1,000 other things we could say, but this is not supposed to be an hour-long video.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We're excited to keep giving you more information on our experience moving abroad as two people who are running their own businesses, who are not retired, and who are unfortunately not independently wealthy.
If you found this video useful or you have questions about anything that we said, please drop a comment below. And of course, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff, so that we can continue producing things that are relevant to the people who are watching it, and also sharing our experience in general about how we feel about living in France.
Hi, I'm Lauren Lavelle.
And I'm Scott Holford. Why are we saying our last names? We usually say our last name?
Oh, wait. I don't know.
Oh my God, why can't I talk? Part of that is getting both your driver's license.
Which, it's better than nothing. We recently went to our OFI appointments, which stands for...
Office.
Wait, hold on. We recently went to our OFI appointments, which stands...
Yeah, I actually have had that same issue in the United States as well, but I have to preface and say, it's not necessarily supposed to be an XXX rated thing. Office of Foreign Integration and
Is it French integration or foreign integration?
I don't remember.
Look it up.
In regards to the oh my God. There's a.
Yeah.
I just didn't know.
Do you think it's going to be in the video?
I think it might be. Flew pretty close earlier. I don't know where it is now.
Can you let it out?
Well, if I can find it.
Anything else you want to say? Yeah, there's a lot of freaking B-roll or outtakes because of you saying the word bureaucracy.
Bureaucracy. What we should look up what bureaucracy is in French. It's just bureaucracy. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we need to include this.